Welcome to our speakers and viewers. My name is Tom Moore, Senior Advisor at the National Committee on U.S. China Relations. Over the past 2 years, BlackBerry has sponsored National Committee programming on technological cooperation between the United States and China. Last year's programs focused on U.S. China cooperation in autonomous vehicles and smart cities. This year, BlackBerry's generous support has allowed us to host a two-part series on electric vehicles. With climate change of increasing concern around the world, electric vehicles, or EVs, are one meaningful way to reduce the world's reliance on fossil fuels. Understandably, the market for these incredible vehicles is enormous. However, the new technologies involved present a range of issues that both countries need to address. To discuss the EV market in China and the United States, we are honored to have Mr. William Lai, Vice President at Pateo Group, a leading Internet of Vehicles technology service and product provider in China, along with Tom Cooney, Vice President for Global Public Policy at General Motors. Guiding the conversation, we have Sarah Tatsis, Senior Vice President of Platform Development at BlackBerry. Let me turn it over to Sarah to start the conversation.
Thanks, Tom. William and Tom, thank you very much for joining us today. I look forward to today's conversation. William, maybe we'll start with you. From Pateo's perspective, what are you seeing as the main opportunities that are facing the EV market in your country, and also maybe mention some of the challenges?
Actually, for the opportunities and the challenges, there are many factors. So I would like first to talk about the opportunities first. I think there are major three opportunities in China. The first one is the policy, and the development of the new EV is now the trend of the automotive industry, but it is the result of the new energy revolution. The Chinese or the international requirement for the environment protection policies have laid a good foundation and for the development of the new energy vehicles market. The Chinese central government has set the goal that we will hit the carbon peak emission in 2030. Under this guidance and of the policies, the new EV has become a general trend. And also the government consumption subsidies have also given a boost to the new EVs. Also, the government encourages the construction of infrastructure facilities such as charging piles. As you know that in big cities such as Shanghai, Beijing, and Guangzhou, you can easily to find the charging hubs and the piles. In 2021, the new EV sales volumes reached 3.5 million in China. It's a big volume here. And the second one to mention is about the technology opportunity. The development of technology, especially the battery technology, has eliminated the range anxiety of many consumers when they use the new EVs before. The range can now exceed 500 kilometers. This has also made the new EV widely accepted by the customers. Also, the price goes down by the evolution of the battery technology too. And the third thing I think I want to mention is about the transportation preference. With the development of the high-speed train and the flight networks, and for example, for trips more than 800 kilometers, Chinese people would mainly choose the airplane. If the distance between 200 and 800 kilometers, they will mainly choose the high-speed train, because the high-speed train speed is around 300 kilometers per hour. So it only takes 1 hour, 2 hours for this kind of travel, save a lot of time. And only for trips around within 200 kilometers, they would mainly consider driving the car. So the new EV can meet the range requirement. So such kind of transportation preference have created a larger space for the development of the new EV market. That is very important things too, I think. And regarding the challenges, I think also I want to mention about the three parts. The first is also the technology. When it comes to the weight, the capacity and the safety of the battery, now the current battery technology still needs improvement also. And also the price, as you know, that the cost for the battery motor and the electric control system reaches 50 to 60% of the car BOM cost. It's a very big money. It's a big problem too. And then the second is the infrastructure construction too. So charging equipment and the layout of some of the car making companies have the battery swap technologies. So for the battery swap stations, we also hinder the development of the new EVs. I mean, the coverage for the, for example, the community, the city suburb, and also the highway service stations, whether the charging hubs or the charging piles are well deployed there. So this kind of things needs a lot of investment, and also it takes time to deploy and to develop it. And the third thing is that for the long term, the environment protection issue, such as the battery recycling and reuse, are also a challenge to the development of the new EVs. So that is 3 points of the opportunities and the 3 parts of the challenges in China.
Thanks, William. I think that gives like a really good overview of, as you said, those opportunities and challenges. How about here in the U.S., Tom? What is GM seeing?
Sure, thank you, Sarah, and great to be here with you and William and the National Committee. I joined GM about 3 years ago after being in the State Department, and much of my career was spent as a diplomat in China. So worked with the National Committee, and this is a great program to be a part of. I think William said it very well. You know, just going up to a really high level, though, the opportunity that we see is an industry that is in complete transformation. This is a once-in-a-century transformation. The whole propulsion system of the vehicle. It's like the moving from the horse and buggy era to the gasoline-powered era that took place 110 years ago. Maybe when you think of General Motors and all of our brands, Chevrolet, Cadillac, you think of the great gasoline-powered vehicles of the past. But by 2035, we're moving to completely zero emissions, all electric fleet. This is an extraordinary transformation, and this is what attracted me to join GM at this time, to join this industry at this time. Further, the vehicles, the opportunity to move from a traditional manufacturing, automaking kind of company and industry and becoming more of a technology platform innovator. That is what is happening in vehicles these days as well. So, sometimes I think about it as our vehicles will be rolling iPhones rather than, just a vehicle moving you from point A to point B. GM, we spent a lot of time recently talking about our company purpose and coming up with what is our company purpose. And, very simply is we are a company that pioneers the innovations that moves and connects people to what matters. And moving and connecting is the key phrase. Before, all we did was move people, right? You get in your car, you go from one place to another. Now you're going to be fully connected. And so it's a very, very different kind of product. It's very exciting. The opportunities are there. Demand is extremely high in the United States. We're coming out with a whole series of electric vehicles, and the orders, the pre-orders for these vehicles. For example, we'll have a new Chevrolet Silverado electric truck coming out next year. We already have over 100,000 orders just for that truck. The Equinox at a lower price point, only $30,000, same thing. Blazer, we just have many, many vehicles that are coming out, and trying to meet the consumer demand for them is our challenge, and it's kind of a happy problem. So those are significant opportunities that are out there. And it's also on the commercial side. So, a lot of times we're thinking about EVs just for passengers, for you and I to buy a vehicle in our driveway. But we also created a brand new company called BrightDrop for electric delivery vans, electric delivery trucks. And those are sold out with Federal Express and with Verizon and Walmart and other kinds of companies. So these are big electric zero emission solutions that come with their own software logistics. They come with electric self-propelled pallets inside to help the delivery driver make their deliveries. So completely different way of transforming that industry as well. So I could go on and on, but lots of opportunities. The challenges are helping the consumer, like William said, feel comfortable with the vehicle, the range anxiety, building out infrastructure, working with governments on appropriate incentives as well, consumer purchase incentives. One of the reasons why China is so successful in increasing its electric vehicle penetration rate, the adoption rate, is because of the very healthy consumer incentives that are offered. And we need to work on that in the United States, and we need more infrastructure as well. So thank you. Stop there.
Yeah, that's great. I think I heard in both of the opportunities that Tom, that you just outlined, and William, that you did as well, that really technology and innovation is what's helping to drive now the opportunity in the EV vehicle space, as well as obviously a number of other technological, social, and economic factors. Maybe just if we talk about the innovation side itself, and maybe Tom, will start with you this time. How do you see the EV innovation evolving over time, and also, what are you seeing as spillover effects maybe into other sectors?
Yeah, so if you think about it, General Motors, just 5 years ago, we introduced a vehicle called the Chevrolet Bolt, which at the time, it's a hatchback, all electric, and at the time it was industry leading in terms of range. We've gone from that 5 years ago to having our own complete battery system called Ultium. So I mentioned a bunch of vehicles earlier. Underpinning all of those vehicles, the Silverado, the new Hummer, the Cadillac Lyriq coming out later this year, is what's called the Ultium battery system. The beauty of that system is that it's our own. We're building it ourselves. It's not a supplier relationship. And it can be, the battery cells can be either stacked vertically or horizontally. It's a very flexible architecture. So you could have it inside a super truck like the Hummer, which is zero emissions. It's not like the old Hummer. Or you can have it in a very, very small vehicle, very affordable kind of vehicle. So that moving in just 5 years from the Bolt, previous technology, to the new Ultium system is a big landmark of innovation. Plus the battery chemistry, what goes in those cells is constantly changing for every automaker. Everybody's looking for the right recipe, the right formula, and we've been adjusting our own battery chemistry in order to have more sustainable sourcing, not only to reduce costs but for ethical sourcing. So, for example, we've driven down the amount of cobalt in our batteries by 70%. One, it decreases costs. That's good for the consumer. But two, we have concerns about the ethical mining of cobalt in places around the world. So these are lots of things that we're thinking about as we shift the propulsion system for the vehicles and the supply chains. In addition to Ultium, there's a lot of other kinds of applications. We've also got hydrogen fuel cell technology, which we are not using in passenger vehicles, but we have a Hydrotech fuel cell system that we're working with Navistar on long-range commercial trucking. So hydrogen is really, if you think of the Apollo rockets that went to the moon, those were hydrogen fueled because it's a very good source of energy when you need a lot of power or long hauls. So perfect for long-range commercial trucking. Other examples are we have a test with an aerospace company for using hydrogen cell fuels in aerospace, in flying. And also we invested in an electric powerboat company to use Ultium or Hydrotech there. So we really are going into land, sea, and air solutions with these new kinds of technologies, the Ultium batteries and the Hydrotech fuel cells.
Yeah, that's really great, Tom. I think William, maybe a similar question to you, and maybe you could also give a little bit, because I know a lot of software innovation is also happening within within the EV space as well. So we could also talk about maybe a little bit about the software innovation that Patel is seeing, and as well as anything else that you have to add around what EV innovation is really driving this transformation.
Okay. Actually, just as Tom mentioned, the new EV have different power transmissions, for example, hydrogen, the battery, or the fuel cell. So here I want to emphasize something on the BEV. Actually, new EV in China equals BEV. As you know, 99% of the new EV cars may be BEV, also some plug-ins or something like that. The Chinese BEV is actually evolving with the development of two major things. One is the new EV technology, and another thing is the understanding of the market. I think these two parts are also very, very important too. And they are promoting each other. As you know that maybe 20 years ago, the initial stage of the new EV development is just as Tom mentioned, is the transformation of the energy and the power of the vehicle. Traditional automakers transform the power of the traditional fuel vehicles to battery, and then the first batch of a new EV appears in China. But in 2016, I think this year is a very important year. It comes to the second stage with the development of technology and as a market, more and more the forces of a car making, such as Tesla and enterprise with the ICT background. Just as you know, NIO, Xiaopeng, and Li Xiang have such a background joining to build new EV cars. Then we started to think about the new EV development, and gradually will break away from the traditional vehicles. This gives us more space for imagination too. And also from this year, the AI technology and the voice technology, I mean the intelligent cabin, made the EV into the intelligent developing state too. The overall development space and imagination space were larger. It's not just the transportation tools. The new EV automakers focus on the end user more just than to build the car itself. They will spend a lot of time studying the user scenarios and the user experience, because they have many of the internet background. And as you know that Chinese internet is very well developed, the new EV automakers will spend a lot of money and energy in the infotainment, just as Patel did in the past time, and also the user operation. So, for example, Patel, we mainly focus on three things. One is intelligent cabin, and another thing is intelligent driving and customer operating. So these parts is very, very important too. And in addition, the autonomous driving start to be implemented for the new EVs. The implementation rate is much higher, maybe 3 times than the traditional vehicles too. They are mainly level 2 or level 2 plus. It's about advantage, convenience, and application space and room for the technology. It's much, much more than these traditional vehicles. I think this is very important too. And for the also another thinking is about that the automotive have changed from the simple means of transportation to an intelligent mobile space. We also call it the third space of the man. In China, sometimes we call it third space of the man. The home, your work, the office, and the third space for you. Thinking from this perspective, we all know that the development of the Internet of Things will promote the technology innovation of other industry too. So it would be any other things, for example, mobile shops, mobile cinemas, a lot of things that actually Patel has tried this kind of mobile cafeteria moving around, and then you can put your order on your smartphone, and it will come to your location, and you can take the coffee yourself. So here is the innovation things in China. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems that the vehicles are probably the most advanced IoT endpoint
Yeah.
to implement, and we'll see how also we see spillover technologies from there to the broader IoT ecosystem. Great. So in terms of, and maybe William, we can start with you on this question, but what roles do you see both governments being able to play that could help to develop and boost this industry and innovation ecosystem? And I guess, are there any opportunities that you can see around both China and the U.S. being able to learn from each other in this area?
Okay, I think in the development of any industry, especially in China, and also especially in the development of automotive industry, because it's very, very important for the country. The government plays a very, very important role in terms of, for example, setting the standards, including the safety standards and the quality standards, and making policies, and for example, also formulation of regulations. So this is very important. And some subsidies policies also have facilitated to the industry development in the short term too. I think this kind of short term things are also very important. The technology and the formulation of a regulation can facilitate and promote each other. The government influence and also the power of its guidance are obvious. Let me take some examples for you. As you know, that central government in China has set up the carbon credit system for the automakers. And the credit points can be exchanged among the automakers. For example, the traditional OEM, not OEMs, for example, automakers cannot meet the requirement, so that they have to buy the credit points from the new EV automakers. So Tesla benefits a lot from selling the credit points, not just only selling their cars in China, selling the cars overseas. So this is one of the policy too. And for the local government, just as I mentioned, is the central government and also the local government. For example, in Shanghai, Tesla also enjoyed the subsidy very much. The Shanghai government offers Tesla around 1,300 acres of land to build their gigafactory. Only 10% of the market price. It's totally too low. Yeah, and also give them very low, very low rate, low too. So they can enjoy too many this kind of a benefit from them too. And I think there are certain differences between China and the U.S. For example, in the economic and local legal system. I think we should learn from each other the strengths to offset their weakness. For example, in China, with the weakness for us is, for example, the chipset, the AI technology, or such kind of things. But we know the market. Chinese, we have a very, very big market here. And so I think we can learn from each other and help each other to go forward. So China has a very big market here to do that. Yeah, thank you.
Great, and thanks, William. And Tom, how about your view on this? What are both, governments able to do in terms of playing a role to really help to develop this industry further and help innovation ecosystem in general?
Well, General Motors is in a unique position of being able to learn from both markets, because we have the Chinese market is extremely important to us. We've had a very successful history since the 1990s in China. And believe it or not, we have the #1 selling EV in China. Tesla is the #1 position overall, but in terms of a particular model, one of our joint ventures with Wuling has the Mini Hongguang EV, which is the #1 selling vehicle, very small, cute, great urban sort of runabout vehicle. And so we're learning from there, and we're learning with our joint venture partners in China how to appeal to the consumer. And also, of course, I would echo William's comments about the Chinese government in terms of its EV manufacturing incentives, consumer purchase incentives. Those are extremely important. We work with the U.S. government, the federal government in Washington, and also at the state and local level for similar kinds of incentives, because that's extremely important. Incentives are not meant to last forever, but going back to my earlier sort of 30,000-foot comments, when an industry is in complete transformation and the consumer has anxiety about making this big switch from one type of vehicle to another that they've been used to, then you need government policy support to ease that pain. So the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act that passed last year had $7.5 billion in it for electric vehicle infrastructure charging. That's extremely important. And companies like GM, we're investing ourselves. We have a whole series of partnerships with companies like EVgo to build out privately the charging infrastructure network, because that's very important. And it has to be fast charging too. People don't want to pull over and then have to wait an hour to be able to get on the road again. It's got to be, it's got to be everywhere, and it has to be fast. General Motors is investing $35 billion in EV and autonomous vehicle development, AV, by 2025, $35 billion. So we've got as we say, we've got our skin in the game. We're all in. We're making a big bets. We have no hybrid vehicles. We are going all electric. And so that is, major investments. And we need the support of the government for consumer purchase incentives for the short term to spur adoption. And similarly, we, in a regulatory capacity, we work closely with the federal government and with state governments on autonomous vehicles. Our autonomous subsidiary is called Cruise, and we have gained permissions, regulatory approvals to run driverless rides using the Chevrolet Bolt currently all over San Francisco. So there's been thousands of driverless rides around San Francisco. This is not science fiction in the future. This is happening right now. You can go to San Francisco, you can get an app, and you can call one of these vehicles to come and give you a ride. We chose San Francisco because it's a very difficult driving environment with all the hills and twisty roads. So if you can master that, you can master pretty much anywhere. And we've also, I guess I would finish by mentioning we have a purpose-built autonomous vehicle, no steering wheel, no driver position. You can't tell the front from the back because it can go in both directions, and it's called the Cruise Origin. And this is in advanced state of testing right now, level 5 autonomous vehicle technology. Like I said, no driver controls. And this will be, we have an agreement with the government of Dubai in United Arab Emirates by the end of 2023 to start running a robotaxi service using the Cruise Origin. So innovation is moving forward. It takes government policies to support it, but also working closely with regulatory authorities on safety issues and everything else, because those are so important.
Great. So Tom and William, we're almost done our time this morning. Maybe I'll ask you each to just, and maybe Tom, I'll start with you. Just give me one thing that you see as exciting over the next 5 years for the EV industry.
There's so many things. So just trying to pick one of them. I'm excited by the multiple applications of the technologies that are being developed. So, going back to, we've got the Ultium battery system, we've got the Hydrotech hydrogen fuel cell power cubes. These have multiple kinds of uses. And, by the way, when a battery has reached the end of its life as in a vehicle, we're also looking at battery recycling. It's very important that the supply chains, be renewed. Can either break down the battery or they can have a second life as a stationary power source, take it out of the vehicle, and it can help power a school, power a factory. I'm excited by the fact that General Motors is committed to be completely carbon neutral by 2040. So not only will our fleet be zero emissions by 2035, but all of our plants around the world, all of our operations will be running on renewable energy and will have a zero carbon footprint by 2040. So for all these reasons, I was excited to leave a great career in the State Department Foreign Service and join an iconic company that is actively disrupting itself. General Motors is a company that has been around for 108 years, and it is actively disrupting itself in order to lead these innovations in the future. So lots to be excited about.
That's great. And William, how about you? What's the one thing that makes you most excited in this space for the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, first thing I want to mention is about the market share. I think maybe in less than 5 years, I think in China, the market share will reach 50%. But as you know, in China, in the advertisement, you cannot see any of the traditional advertisement for their traditional cars. For the BMW, we can only see i3, iX3, such as kind of electric cars too, the new EVs too. And another thing I want to see that they will mainly focus on not the powertrain, how you can speed from 0 to 100. They will mainly focus on the experience. The Internet of the Things, I think this is very important in China. Just as I mentioned, as you know, that Internet has well developed in China. And I will give you one example. Chinese people would like to sing karaoke in the car when they are driving. For example, the husband is driving, the wife will sing karaoke besides. So this is very, very popular. You can sell the karaoke mic to the customer. So this will be just change what is a vehicle is. It's just not a means of a transportation, just another way of your life. It's another means of your third spaces. I think this is very important. Excited to see that in 5 years. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Tom and William, thank you both so much. I think this is such an exciting space. We could spend all day talking. I really appreciate you giving us an overview about the Chinese EV market, the U.S. EV market, and really where this innovation is going. So thank you both.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks, William.
Thank you, Sarah.
And I want to thank all three of our speakers today, William Lai, Tom Cooney, and Sarah Tatsis, for explaining the state of EVs in both the United States and China. Please join us again for the second part of this series, which will discuss the technological and policy-related issues for these vehicles. That event will take place in early June and will be posted on the National Committee's website soon. Thanks and goodbye.